Good evening, friends. Welcome to episode 115 of the live stream. I have actually taken off for a week. I believe it's exactly 7 days. I had streamed for 114 days straight, so I decided to take a break. The goal was always to go live consecutively for 100 days. It just happened to coincide with the first 100 days of our current president in 2021. If you're watching this, maybe in some other year. But we had decided probably about 95 episodes in that we would continue, but we did go ahead and take a break. And back in March, I really got interested in investing again in the stock market and cryptocurrency. So, I typically have been going live only on YouTube. I am live today on a number of Facebook pages that I have in Facebook groups. So I want to welcome everyone from Facebook. And so for my life coaches out there, you can just put this in the category of ULA Finance. My ULA life coaches will know what I'm talking about. And I started, really learning a lot and starting some initial investing in the stock market and in cryptocurrency back in March. I, actually can thank Dogecoin, which is very popular now, for getting my feet wet, as they say, in cryptocurrency. I would like to believe that I've learned quite a bit, and although I still do own some Dogecoin, I've considerably expanded my portfolio into some tokens that I believe have some real long-term possibilities with regards to returning a good rate of return. And so I've started on this journey and I'm sharing it with people. So what we're going to get into today, initially, like we do most days when we go live, is just a kind of a recap of the market as of 9:54 p.m. On what is today's date, on the 24th of May. And so let's get into it. So if you are not familiar with this website and you're interested in, even if you're not currently investing in cryptocurrency, I'll just say tokens, but I would suggest that you go to coinmarketcap.com, set a favorite, and this is a really good site. I'm not going to talk through what it all is. If you are familiar with cryptocurrencies already, this would not be a new place for you to go. But if you are new, this will show you basically the top. I'm showing the top 20 or so, but it's more than 200 even. I don't even know how many, but it's like 900. I think 900. So if I sort this by the number, okay, so that's the top 100. But that's just the first 100 on this page. Anyway, I normally look at about the top 10 or 20 until I got more comfortable with understanding what a lot of these tokens were. I didn't even really bother going much past about 10. But again, I've learned quite a bit since then, and I've been able to expand my horizons. But if we look at this, total market cap today, 1.66 trillion. That's up 16% from yesterday. It's up even more, I think, from the weekend. There was a massive liquidation, if you will, and we're going to get to talking about that in a minute. And the topic of, is the bull market over for 2021? We'll get to talking about that and want you to share your thoughts. We here at this channel talk with the audience as much as they are willing to talk and interact, dialogue. So put in the chat there, your thoughts, questions that you have, and we're going to get to them. So Bitcoin, no surprise that it's on top, but it is down considerably. Not news to anyone that has been staying up with the cryptocurrency market over the last week, and especially over the last 3 or 4 days. And we'll talk a little bit about what we believe caused this downturn. And a lot of the cryptocurrencies have gained much of their loss back. I don't know that any of them have gotten back up to their previous highs or where they were prior to the crash, if you will, but nonetheless, they're doing really, really good today, and I'll highlight that here in a minute as well. But Bitcoin, of course, number one, current price 38,000. I believe today it's been as high as 39,000. Of course, earlier in the month, it got to an all-time high of, I believe it was 64,000. So it is almost 50% off. It got down to as low as 28, I believe, over the weekend, or maybe that was Friday. I lose track of time, but it got down considerably. It has, of course, recovered at least 10,000 of that. So that would have been an amazing time to buy Bitcoin, or even a portion of a Bitcoin. The one thing for you out there that are maybe new, and again, we're going to get to the comments, but if you're watching this and you're new to cryptocurrency, the cool thing about two cool things, and there's a lot more, but two cool things about crypto is it's 365, 24/7. It's open all day, every day, 365 throughout the year. So that's cool because you can actually buy and sell at any point in time. It is very liquid. It is volatile as well. So that's one of the not so good things, potentially, depending on your perspective. We can talk about that a little bit as well if you want, but the volatility that is. But again, down, almost $10,000 over the last couple of days, back up, almost up to 40, or it has been as high as in the 40s after that big crash, but it's kind of settled in, going sideways in the high 30s. It gained at 8% today, so we'll go through some of these. Another thing to note, again, 1.66 trillion total market cap for 9,000 roughly coins, and it has at the peak of things just going amazingly well in May, it was 2.2, I believe, or something along those lines, and it's been much lower over the last couple of days. So we lost, I believe, almost $1 trillion in market cap, something close to that. Market cap for Bitcoin, 722 billion. That is again at the height of things going really, really good. In May, that was somewhere around 1.2 trillion. So you can see here, and this was as low as 600 billion, earlier last few days. And so it lost, I think, roughly $600 billion in market cap, which is just crazy. Super, super crazy. Going to point out some other things in a minute, and I'm going to look at the comments just to make sure. Ethereum, we'll go to it next. It has significantly retreated as well from, again, an all-time high, I believe, around 6,400 in May. It's at 2,563. It's been as high as 27 something today, but it's still up 18%. Every altcoin on Voyager, I can't really show you that because I can't show you my phone right now. It's mostly a phone app at this point in time, and I really like Voyager. So go check out in the description the link for Voyager. It is a place where you can get crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum. A lot of the ones that I like, about one of the few that's not on there that I'm really keen on is MATIC, or MATIC, is the actual code for the token. It's actually called Polygon now, but it is not available in Voyager. But VeChain, which I am super hot on, Cardano, Ethereum, Polkadot, a lot of those. As I scroll through some of these, I'll actually tell you what's on Voyager and what's not. Tether is a stable coin. I'll actually use this time right now with Tether being there. I've learned a number of things, so I hope you'll stick with me. I think this will be good. Even if you're watching this in the replay, I've learned some things over the last week that I believe will help me be a better investor in crypto in the future, things to look for. I honestly would have never thought in past times, fairly new March, as an investor in crypto, that there are some other things to look at other than, listening to all the analysts and just kind of watching the charts go upward and upward and upward. But I've learned, for example, if you see, and this is data that you have to go seek out and search, but for example, if you see a lot of stable coins, USDT, USDC, and some others. But if you see those, especially, and the other stable coins that are more commonly used on the exchanges to be able to buy stocks with, there's a couple of things you can be thinking. If you're seeing a lot of accumulation of stable coins on the exchanges, people are probably getting ready to buy. If it's going down, over a course of a day or two, then people have already bought, most likely. So, that's something that I would have never thought before. So keep an eye on the on-chain data on the exchanges, the kind of the growth or the decline of the amount of stable coins on these exchanges. It will give you some insight into what might be going on, because what people will do a lot of times is they'll either have these stable coins in a cold storage wallet somewhere, bring it on chain, getting ready to deploy it to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe other altcoins, that type of thing. And obviously what that means is, as more buying is happening, then the price is going to go up. So if you're not buying, but you're holding and you're looking for long-term gains, that means very likely that's going to be a good couple of days for the price of at least the good coins, the coins that people are actually desirous of. So, and from what I understand, those stable coins are accumulating on the exchanges, so we could see some really good moves here before long. The thing that I learned, and then I'm going to get on to talking to where some of these other coins are, and then we're going to get to the comments, so hang with me. Welcome if you're just joining. I also learned that there were a ton of leveraged positions out there on Bitcoin, Ethereum, especially, maybe to a lesser extent on some of the altcoins, but especially Bitcoin, and maybe even again to a lesser extent, but certainly on Ethereum. But we had, I think the number was almost $10 billion in liquidations. 775,000 addresses basically wiped out to zero. Now, not all of those were because of liquidation. Some of those were paper hands, as they say. It's also the case, and I don't know the actual number, but there was a large percentage of what would be presumed to be new folks in crypto, because you can tell, I don't actually know how right now, I'm going to learn how to do this myself, but you can tell by looking at data that's available on chain, you can tell how old a wallet is, if you will, whether that coin's a new coin or an old coin, whether it's been held for quite a while or not. And it's a fact that there were many new buyers, if you will, new entrants into the crypto space, that when this crash happened, they panicked and they sold. So I use that term with concern, if you will, or with compassion, maybe is the right term, for those that were new, didn't know what to do, probably didn't know that most of these things would come back up. They sold, and that selling just continued to cause the price to go down even further. And the only person that won in those situations, well, it certainly wasn't those that sold. I held. I didn't. I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you about one thing that I did. I did sell. I did, but it was a strategic kind of thing, and I'll explain that maybe if I get to it. But those that held on, probably most of them are probably at least back to where they were, unless they bought way at the top. Now, I bought some Ethereum at somewhere closer to the top, not at the top, but closer. So I'm still waiting to recover on that. But I also bought in the dip and actually making money on that inventory, if you will, of Ethereum. And again, a lot of these altcoins are back up. Binance Coin had gone down to 242 or something along those lines. Let's look at that just for a minute. So the Binance Coin is basically the native coin for the Binance Smart Chain. If we look at the 1 year low and high, so it's been as high as 690, but it was in the 500s, I believe. And again, it went down quite a bit, and now it has recovered a good portion of that. So it's at 266. Actually, since this is the native coin on the Binance Smart Chain, it might be a good quote-unquote altcoin to get. Now, of course, it's not. All of these altcoins are on discount, as you'll see, because of how much they've gone up in the last 24 hours are not as good of a discount anymore, but some of them are still on a deep discount. Cardano up 10%. This is the example of where I sold my Cardano that I had. Didn't have a ton necessarily, but I sold the Cardano that I had so that I could buy Ethereum on the dip. And it turned out to be the best thing to do, because my average cost on Cardano is $1.56. I lost about $10 on the sale, then was able to buy some Ethereum, and I will get back into Cardano. And I suggest that you think about that. This is not financial advice. It's opinion for education and for entertainment. But nonetheless, Cardano is one that I think has all kinds of promise. Not going to dive into it necessarily tonight, but it does have, I believe, a lot of promise. So I'm going to just go back to our comments now and want to welcome people. So I do want to welcome you. Thanks for joining. And so we were talking about Cardano, and it's number 5 market cap. Cardano and Dogecoin have been number 5 and 6 for the last several days. One thing that I think is real telling with regards to Dogecoin, which is number 5, is this volume here. The volume is way down, and I'm a little surprised. This has a lot of chatter on Reddit, Discord, TikTok, I guess, which I'm not on as much, Twitter, all those kinds of things. But yet, and it may look like a lot for the uninitiated, but 6 billion is not actually all that much. We're going to drive down into this for a moment and look at the historical data, because we can look and see over the number of days. 6 billion today, 7 billion previously, 5 billion, 7 billion, 12 billion, 15, back down to 4, 7, 9, 9, 20. So, for really almost 2 weeks, the volume has been down considerably. So I actually think it's kind of interesting. Won't find many Dogecoin analyst per se. I'd like to believe that I'm transparent and not biased so much towards one or the other. I actually own some Dogecoin, but I care more about my community, and I think being holistic. And so what I'm going to say is, I don't see many Dogecoin specific YouTube channels out there talking about what's going on here. Why is the volume so low, right? Everybody's talking about hold, buy the dip, so forth and so on. But when you look at this volume, it's not enough going on here for it to get to that elusive dollar that everybody's hoping for. And I'm just going to say it and be, the bad guy for a lot of people. You'd be much better off, in my opinion, and that's why it's opinion, not advice, to get something like Cardano, even though you got to pay a little bit more for it, or get VeChain, and we'll look at that in a minute, which I think is probably about 11 cents right now. It's already been, up quite a bit and down, and it has a much greater chance, I would argue, on the fundamentals of getting to $1 and beyond and staying there. Now, Dogecoin may get to that dollar, but when it only gets there and Elon Musk tweets something or some other large catalyst happens, people have to ask themselves, is it worth it? Because what about the people that bought at 65 and 70? They say they don't mind holding, and maybe they don't, but if their money is tied up there, and maybe now they'd rather get Ethereum or Cardano or Matic, and the list actually goes on to about 20. I could probably name off 20 now. Used to be, I'm like, don't even talk to me about any more than 10. So it's amazing how much you, how much your capacity, I guess, grows over time when you spend more time on it. So let's get back to Cardano. It's gone up 17%. So that it's actually just gone up about 2 pennies while we've been talking here. Dogecoin 35. It's been hovering, I think, around that 34, 35 range. It's been as high as 40 over the last couple of days, maybe as high as 45 even. Let's look at the 1 month. Okay, yeah, it's actually even within the 1 month, because it was in May that it hit that all-time high. But, actually we can look at the historical data here, and we'll look at the highs at least. So yeah, on the 21st, it got up to 41, the 20th, 43, 68, 52. So I know that people that got in here at 68 or 50, or even at 74, 73. I hope not many people got in there at 70. They may be waiting a while to get their money to break even. And I used to think and used to have a model of what's going to happen? What kind of money am I going to have when Dogecoin gets to 100 or 1,000? I don't believe any longer that Dogecoin has much of a chance. Anything's possible, I guess, but I do not believe that Dogecoin has hardly any chance at all ever, at least in the next 50 years, to get to 1,000. It would have to change considerably, right? Things like it being deflationary, which it's probably never going to be. So, and if it approaches $1 and never really gets much beyond that, then other than the fun part about it, you're actually better off with a stable coin like USDC or USDT. Again, I'm in this more for the utility of it, for the investment aspect of it, not for the fun so much. It can be fun, it can be exciting and all of that, but I don't honestly care personally whether my token, whether its quote unquote mascot is a 2 diamonds or a dog or a cat or a pancake, piece of sausage. I don't honestly care. I care more about, what kind of return am I making? So we got Cardano, as I mentioned. The Dogecoin just actually dropped to number 7. XRP now is in the number 6 spot. XRP had a massive drop I believe XRP was as high as $1.20 or so. I almost bought some and didn't. I've decided to wait until the SEC trial, if you will, has been settled. Don't know when that's going to happen. I think if it settles and XRP is basically allowed to continue with their structure the way they have it, I think it's going to skyrocket. If they lose, then it's going to be a different story. I have no idea what's going to happen. So it could happen really quickly. So if you're interested in something that, could maybe double or triple, possibly, probably want to, start, setting up a favorite where you can Google XRP, and I'll try to make sure I cover it a little bit during each of these live streams. Dogecoin, number 7, stablecoin USDC is number 8, Polkadot, another altcoin, up 18%. So yesterday would have been a great day to buy it as well. Now, what's really helpful to look at is, again, on the 7-day, it's still at a 50% discount. So that tells you something, gives you some indication of whether it might still be a good buy. Cardano, not quite as good a buy because it's only down 26. Cardano has actually fared very well as far as how much of its value it lost during this last 4 or 5 days. XRP, of course, lost quite a bit more. Dogecoin, we see that. Polkadot, again, a good deal. Internet computers, really interesting. It is one of the few altcoins that's actually still down percentage-wise. It was really expensive in the 200-something range. Very interesting project, but at the price that it already is, something I'm going to pass on. Uniswap is a great project. It's used a lot. Only problem with it right now is the gas fees to swap using Ethereum. You have to have some Ethereum, I believe, for it to actually work. Is still kind of expensive. Now, of course, Ethereum, they're coming out with a new fork that will deal with the gas fees. They're also going to be improving the amount of load that the Ethereum network can handle. They're also going to be introducing an deflationary, token metrics, and they're also moving to proof of stake instead of proof of work. So it'll be interesting, and Uniswap will reap the benefits of that. I saw a source, which I'm not going to be able to pull up because I don't think I saved it, but there's a couple of sources where you can see. Actually, I think I do know where it's at. Let's look real quick. Is it DeFi? Yeah, DeFi Pulse. I think it shows the DeFi Pulse. I believe it shows the fees from some of these. So let's look at there's Sushi Swap. Let's look at this one instead, because I think it will maybe also it may or may not show the amount of fees. But look at this though, 559.85 thousand, so 589,000 total Ethereum locked in. I don't even know the total amount, but amongst all these, and I'm sure somewhere on here it tells us that as well. But when you look at the total amount of Ethereum locked in to a number of these platforms, it's just incredible. The sheer amount of developers that are out there on Ethereum itself and other side chains like Polygon and Matic, I think, is that as well. Various others. It's outrageous. But Cardano has got some really really incredible things coming up. So you need to be watching Cardano. Bitcoin Cash, we'll move to it next. 12, we're only going to go through maybe the top 20. I said that I would mention all of those, or a number of those that are on Voyager. Polkadot is, Dogecoin is, XRP is, which is unusual. You can't find that a lot of places. Cardano is, Ethereum and Bitcoin are all on Voyager, and the link for Voyager is on in the description. So go check it out. Stellar is also on Voyager. It's also up, not as much, but it's up 1.4%, still at a pretty good discount of 34%. Might want to look into Stellar, Ethereum Classic. I'm just not too much on that. Solano, again, not fully recovered, may also be a good buy right now at 30% off still. VeChain, definitely. I was able to get some of this, bought some more at, wow, 7 cents. Let's look at this for a minute. VeChain is available on Voyager. One of the main reasons I use Voyager, it's actually hard to find VeChain on a lot of the exchanges. It is a Chinese-based, or Singapore, I think, based company, so that maybe can make it difficult, but it's available on Voyager. Let's look at the 1 month low. So it's been as high as 24. It's been as low as 6. It's currently at 11. So I mean, it's a little bit less than half of its high if over just a month period, but over a year, 27. So not much different. The only thing that's different is, wow, if I'd gotten in at 0.00472. VeChain, we're just going to wake up one day and VeChain is going to have shot through the roof, and those that decided to put it in their portfolio are going to be super, super happy. That's what I would say. So let's look at some of the comments. Andrew, hey, my friend, it's not financial advice. You're right. It's financial fried rice. For sure. It has been one of the most crazy, last 7 days or so, or even last 14 days, that I've been a part of. I know some of you and others that I actually, am learning from have been through 2013, 2017, transitioning from a bull, market into a bear market, and then from a bear market into a new bull market. So I'm going to think optimistically and take the position of a number of subject matter experts out there that believe that we're just in a mini bear, I guess, market, if you will, and a lot of them are thinking that we're going to have a double high, if you will, or a double top. So reach a new high, 60, or at least for Bitcoin. That's what they typically use as the watermark, if you will. Yeah, it's live right now, Aliska. If you're still on, it's live right now. So we're live. I did take a break. I said this at the beginning of the stream. We've been going now 30 minutes, but I took a 7-day break. I had gone live for 114 days straight and finally decided to take a break. And it's actually, every day that I didn't stream, I missed it. But at the same time, I was very, it felt good also to have a break. So, but I'm happy to be back. Happy to have a lot of you that have become regulars be on there with me. It's been over a month. I've been straining on my futures. Hey, Andrew, you're crazy, man. You do all the kind of things. So I'm not into futures. I'm not into any of the derivatives. So we'll have to learn from you on that. But glad that you're here, and I do remember you, my friend. I hope that you were not, I hope that you weren't wrecked by a lot of the leverage. I know that, there were, again, almost $10 billion, I believe, just in liquidations alone. And that was a big part of what, caused this crash, if you will. Need a court decision? Yes, we do. We do need one. It's just that crazy thing that it may be worth it may be worth betting a little bit, if you will, right now. Basically $1 a coin to put in a few $100s and see what happens. Most believe, there's no way to know, but most people in XRP believe that worst case they're going to be slapped with some kind of a fine, and they'll be able to continue on like they're wanting to. I continue to read about them. I think the country of Egypt or something like that is using them for cross-border payments and a number of things. So I think that they stand a really good chance of doing well if the decision or a decision goes their way. So what I do also want to do is let's go to another source here, and I'm actually going to copy this into the comments here in a minute. Decrypt.co. I found this to be a really good source of information, and some really good articles here you may or may not have heard today, and I actually think this is comical. And now that I've been involved for again since about March, and now that I've been just looking at stories over and over again, I thought I was a fan of Elon Musk, and for the most part, I think now I am not. This is my own personal opinion. I think he's it's a conflicting kind of thing in one sense, because I think, yes, he's a genius in many ways, but I also think that he's I think he's very egotistical. I'm just going to be honest. I think he loves the limelight. I think he loves the fact that he can tweet something and things just go crazy. Now, what it proves more than anything else is that people allow that to happen. I don't make any of my decisions, zero of my decisions, based upon what Elon says anymore. I rode the wave on Dogecoin for a while, made some money, was actually able to make enough to invest in Ethereum, so I'm super happy. It would have been nice in one sense to have held up to 73 cents, but I've honestly made more money moving on for the most part, and investing in Ethereum, investing in Cardano, investing in VeChain, investing in Polygon or Matic. Actually have a little bit of Bitcoin. I have an interesting story about Bitcoin that I'll tell you here in a minute. But just to prove the point, and then I'm going to be done because I don't want to I don't want to really belabor it. But here it says Elon Musk says he spoke with North American Bitcoin miners about sustainability. Now here's the interesting thing. So I'm going to compare and contrast. So if we look at this article, yes, Elon tweeted, earlier, I believe it was today, right? He said, I think this one shows the tweet. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does. Here we go. Okay, so Elon tweets, spoke with North American Bitcoin miners. They committed to publish current and planned renewable usage and ask miners what or WW to do so. I don't know, potentially promising. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you didn't dig a little bit deeper, you'd think that this was all, Elon's doing. He's the man, right? He's gotten an audience together, and they're basically doing his bidding, and they're capitulating to him, and he's just the man, right? He's a billionaire. He's actually the second richest man in the world. He's actually, probably because of his Saturday Night Live performance, now number 2 instead of number 1. And I say that kind of jokingly, but I also really never thought about it because I didn't look into it too much. But even Tesla would not be profitable if it wasn't for the subsidies that they get from the government, which is basically our tax dollars. So I'm even that much less of a fan, knowing that my tax dollars only go towards Tesla, and his billions are mostly, I think, from his Tesla stock. And so I'm not actually too happy about contributing to his ability to be a billionaire, just because I'm not. So that, I'll just go on record. And I don't like the fact that I'm just not a big fan of people that have egos. But here's the reality: it's ultimately the people that are reacting to it. So it's kind of hard to be too down on Elon, other than, hey, I really don't like that kind of character. But the fact of the matter is, if people would ignore what he's saying and look for facts and that type of thing, and not read into things, then things might be different. A lot of what happened may have not happened, at least when it did. Again, a lot of this crash, I think maybe some are giving Elon too much credit. Yes, what he did was FUD. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt are created FUD. China created a lot of FUD, or really the media created the FUD, because all of China's talk about banning Bitcoin and all that was a reiteration of a policy that they've had at least since 2017. So we can thank the media for that. I think a lot of them like to come up with reasons to give Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market a bad rap. So don't let them do that. Dig deeper. So here's the real story. Michael Saylor, which is the CEO of the software company MicroStrategy, and yes, he's a Bitcoin advocate. He's actually what you would call a maximalist. He doesn't believe that any of the other cryptocurrencies are worthy of your time, that kind of thing. I don't support him in that, but I do think that he's just infinitely more wise and knowledgeable about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as compared to Elon Musk. There is zero comparison, but all Elon has to do is say something, and because he's a billionaire and because he runs Tesla and SpaceX and all that kind of stuff, he's an expert in everything, right? But as it turns out, Michael Saylor was the one that put this meeting together. But is Elon going to give him any credit for that? No. But Michael Saylor does tweet himself, at some point in the I don't know when, I don't know who tweeted first, but anyway, Michael Saylor tweeted and said that he was pleased to host a meeting between Elon and the leading Bitcoin miners. Now, of course, some in the Bitcoin community, and then I'm going to be done with this, were a little perturbed that there's like this closed door meeting, because they're like, it's best to keep things with regards to Bitcoin out in the open. Nonetheless, it is supposed to be decentralized. It is supposed to be the currency of the people. It is supposed to be everything that this would seem to go against in one sense. So, but we'll see what comes of this. They basically said, yes, they will put together a Bitcoin mining council on energy usage. Here's the interesting thing, right? There was a barrage of support for the fact that I think over 75% of Bitcoin that's produced today or mined today is with renewable energy, or energy that would go wasted otherwise, hydroelectricity, various things like that. And, with China reiterating that that they want to actually, I think, maybe ban mining, actually could be a good thing, because there are a lot of people that complain about the hash rate. In other words, the concentration of mining in China. A lot are saying it's really, really big, or it's bigger than it should be. And the reality of that, it's not quite as concentrated as some would believe. But that, if they truly ban that and kick the miners out of China, they'll go somewhere else. They'll find other places to do it, and then people at least won't have that as a tool to use against what is Bitcoin anymore. So that was interesting. So let's see what we got here. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you weren't, my friend. Glad you weren't. Took a huge beating. Yeah. Hey, I hear you on that, Andrew. Mine probably not near as bad as yours because I'm not quite there yet with the size of my portfolio, but nonetheless, I've had to sit on, Ethereum being at a loss. The good thing is I've got some Ethereum in Robinhood, some on Voyager. I paid more for the Ethereum that's on Robinhood, but the good thing is because I still again didn't hold Dogecoin till it was 70 something cents, but I did make enough that even with Ethereum being down now after me buying it, I made enough that I'm still up 30 something percent on my portfolio on Robinhood. I'm about I think 10% or so on Voyager, so I'm getting there. The Robinhood prior to this big crash, though, Robinhood was about 124%. So I was patting myself on the back, thinking I was just amazing, right? But the reality is, this comes and goes. So you do have to have those diamond hands, at least with regards to these times. I don't, for one, and I've talked about this before, I'm not a big proponent of making a big issue out of people selling and taking profits. That's up to them. I will make an issue of, only because it doesn't make much sense for people to sell high. Sell low, right, and buy high. But that seems to be what happens a lot. I even heard a lot of people, panic sold, got back in, and then it went down on them again. Hopefully they learned the second time that they just need to hold it. But it's not easy. It's not easy. But Andrew, you probably have been through some of this before or have a little bit more discipline with regards to holding. Yeah, I completely agree. He's obviously a genius in some aspects. I really wonder if he wasn't a billionaire, maybe that's just his personality regardless. I mean, I think I've said this before as well. Typically, not always, but typically money or large amounts of money in someone just amplifies who they already are. So good, bad, or indifferent, he probably has somewhat of an ego, whether he has $100,000 in the bank or whether he has 100 and something billion. But, I don't care in one sense. I just don't like that. So it bothers me a little bit, but thankfully I don't let it make my decisions for me. But anyway. Okay, so let's look at a couple of other things here. I'm going to kind of go through my Twitter feed because I've learned to kind of use it to basically capture some other things that I want to talk about. Or actually, let me just go to the bookmarks here. Yeah, this is interesting. So this is another thing that I've learned. So I think a lot of people, while I was covering Dogecoin more specifically, and again, this is an indication of, I hope, my growth, maturity to a certain extent. Still got a lot to learn, but I've moved beyond just talking about Dogecoin, hopefully to being more holistic, talking about a broader spectrum of coins, tokens, if you will. Talk about stocks some. I'm not going to talk about stocks at all tonight. It's been too crazy in crypto to even look at stocks, honestly. But Bitcoin, and this was yesterday, but Bitcoin whales accumulate 122.5 thousand Bitcoin amid the latest market mayhem. If there's one thing I've learned, they do it with Dogecoin. They definitely do it with Bitcoin and Ethereum as well, but on a whole other level. And I think, by the way, to be considered a whale, at least with Bitcoin, a Bitcoin whale, you have to have over 1,000 Bitcoin. So that's pretty crazy. But these whales, because they own so much compared to the rest of the market, if you will, and sometimes they possibly even coordinate, but they can literally drive the market and actually intentionally, and that's what happened here, intentionally cause liquidations where these people basically get their whole account liquidated, and that obviously starts panic as well with retail investors that are just have 1, 2, 3, whatever, even high net worth individuals that are new to this, however, had paper hands as well, panic sold. Who do you think gobbled up a lot of that? Obviously, the whales. Not only them, obviously there are a lot of smart, retail investors that maybe don't have the kind of money that the whales do or the resources that the whales do, but yet they saw this as an opportunity to get Bitcoin. Until I see enough that says otherwise, I fully believe, as well as others, that Bitcoin's going to 1 million, if not 5 million at some point in time. On the way to that, obviously we're going to see 100,000 Bitcoin, maybe even this year, maybe 200,000 this year. Kathy Wood says a 500,000 Bitcoin. So don't know when, don't know how. That doesn't mean that we won't have a number of other quote unquote crashes, or if you look at the charts, on its way to even the all-time high of 65,000, 64,000, whatever it was. There's been a number of times where it's one time, I think in the 80s. No, I don't mean in the 80s. I mean in the, maybe it was 2013, something like that. It lost 80%. This time it lost, I think, 50 something, 55%. It's routinely, lost and then moved into a, bear market 45%. So you got to be willing to live through that. And there's a couple of ways, I guess, that you could deal with that. Now you could try to take profits on the way up. That requires a little bit of timing, and you'd potentially miss it in this one because you might not have any way of knowing when it's going to go down. All that. I think the easiest way is like Adam was saying, is to or Andrew, buy and hold. I really would like to get to the point where I have at least one Bitcoin, more for the fun of it than anything else, a Bitcoin to basically almost in a sense day trade with. Imagine, having enough to play with where you could deal with some of these $10,000 swings, $5,000 swings, do some swing trades, if you will, with the intention of holding all your other coins and, having the flexibility of, if you do that a couple of times and it's at a point where, you don't want to sell it because it's going to go up some more, whatever, over a couple of days, then you hold it for a couple of days. Maybe you buy and sell it back a couple of other times, and then maybe at some point, depending on how high up it goes, you just put it in with your HODL inventory, if you will. That would be kind of fun to be able to make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 in a day just trading the swing. I did that with Ethereum, and I did a live stream on that a while back. My experience day trading Ethereum, of course, it wasn't, $10,000 swings. It was more like $200, maybe $250 swings, but it was really interesting, and I learned a lot doing it. But anyway, so we had a large accumulation by the whales. Glassnode is a really good source. You can actually go to Glassnode and get a free account and get some of their on-chain data for free. If I ever get to where I'm making enough money to make this a full-time kind of thing, that's probably one of the services I may want to add. It would be tax deductible, obviously, but Glassnode looks to be like a really, really good resource for someone that's trading, or I should say investing, not really trading, for someone that is able to do this full time, I think Glassnode to be a great resource and worth the money. But so it says that Anthony Pampliano recently, that name's pretty hard, Pampliano concluded that the so-called Bitcoin whales, entities who hold 10,000, not 1,000, 10,000 to 100,000 Bitcoin purchased 125,258 Bitcoin during the height of the market crash on Wednesday, talking about last Wednesday. And much of the foot traffic to the crypto exchange came from the United States, as evidenced by Coinbase 3,000 BTC premium at one point. I don't know what they mean by that, honestly. The premium. Wow. Okay. People were borrowing money to invest. They were wiped out from the system. Yep. So they're talking about leverage there. Every time we see massive liquidation is a chance to buy. I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin and Ethereum retrace the entire drop in a week. So, Kyle Davies, whoever that is, I mean, yes, he's the co-founder of Three Arrows Capital, which I don't know who that is, that organization, but nonetheless, he is suggesting that by Wednesday, if he means by a week, a 7-day period, that we could be fully back to where we were by this Wednesday. Others are not quite as optimistic that we'll get there as fast, but not everyone, most of the people that I follow, that I try to gain information from, I think most of them do not believe that the bull market is over. I'm going to, I'm going to take a cautiously optimistic view of the same and say that I agree. So Cointelegraph is another really good resource. Check that out. Cointelegraph recently reported at least one prominent whale. Yeah, look at that. Wouldn't that have been nice to sell at 58,000? Presuming they didn't buy at the peak of 64, but sold at 58. But has not only reaccumulated but added to their holdings. The unknown entity sold 3,000 Bitcoin. Wow, 3,000 on May 9th. They knew something. I mean, that's the thing with the cryptocurrency market as well. It's not regulated. There is no thing, there is no such thing as insider trading. I guarantee you there are whales that coordinate their efforts. Guess they have an agreement somewhere or another. They trust each other and work against. I heard, don't know how true this is, but I heard that there was actually a coordinated effort by a number of whales to completely wreck a single individual. So they had it in for this individual for some reason or another. I don't know why it is, but you do. This is one of the reasons, as someone, if you're that someone like I am that doesn't have access to all of these services with the on-chain data, don't have the luxury of owning, thousands and thousands and thousands of Bitcoin and those kinds of things. We have to be able to navigate a world where there are obviously those that do, and we need to make sure that worst case we can hold, right? I think if you're in a position where you're not leveraged and where you can't be forced to basically give up your coins, if you can hold, you're going to be okay. Those that, again, got wrecked, as we were talking about, mostly were those that were on leverage, and there were 775,000 of those. I'm going to get my notes for a minute because I want to make sure I'm reading that right, but I'm almost positive that I am. Yep, 8.5 billion in liquidations. Yep, 775,000 traders were liquidated. Another thing that I read, which is kind of interesting, that can be helpful for us as investors in the future. There are those that believe, again, I like to use this phrase, that have more time than I do, more resources than I do, more knowledge than I do at this point in time. So I put a lot of weight in what they're saying, and although they can be wrong, is that they're suggesting that a lot of the uprun on Bitcoin, especially, maybe also Ethereum, but maybe to a lesser extent, but the narrative out there, was that, hey, institutional investors are adopting, getting into Bitcoin, getting into Ethereum. And while that's true, the narrative seemed that was potentially one of the biggest catalysts to justify or to explain these amazing prices of Ethereum at 6,400, Bitcoin at 64,000, and all of that, where what actually happened, or what helped a lot of that get to where it was, kind of false volume in one sense. Yes, it's real volume, but a lot of these leverage 100x, right? So imagine that Ethereum cost $1 and you can get 100x leverage, so you could buy for $1 buy 100 Ethereum. As long as it's going the right way, that's all great. But if it goes south, then you're wrecked again, as we talked about. So the thought is that the run up and all of that was caused maybe in a larger degree with all these leverage positions out there, as opposed to organic increase. I don't know the real truth of all that, but here's the thing that you need to know. I believe that you need to know, and that is what I already said, which is, hey, if it turns out that you ended up buying at the top, maybe you don't have all that insight for whatever reason. If it turns out that you bought at the top, there's two things you got to think about. You either got to be willing to lose it, sell it, get out, in other words, if you want, or ride out a cycle to where it either trades sideways or trades down for a while, knowing full well that it's going to, you're going to eventually end up in another bull cycle, and it's going to go up and reach an all-time high. So you got to decide, maybe even ahead of time, which one of those positions you're going to take. So, hey, Hero Indonesia, good evening. Thanks for joining. I'm not sure if this is your first time to be on one of my live streams, but I do want to welcome you. I hope you'll click on the subscribe button, notifications. Let me know what if you got any questions, if you want to talk through some of your crypto portfolio, if you have any. What do you think about this crash that we've been through? But we do like to dialogue with our audience. Hey, CK, buy the dip, always buy the dip. Yeah, the only problem with that, I agree, is at some point you run out of disposable cash, right? So I've gotten, it can be addictive, even at $100 at a pop. Even that at some point is like, what is this $100 deposit to Voyager, coming from your wife, or what is this $200 deposit into Robinhood or whatever. So thankfully I can say, and thankfully, I'm the only one that looks at it every day, because again, crypto is volatile, as all of you probably know. And it is, they say that one day in crypto is like a week in some of the other more traditional investment instruments, but nonetheless, so thankfully I'm up, again, about 32% on my Robinhood portfolio, about 10% or so on Voyager. Now that return was 124% at the peak on Robinhood, and on Voyager probably about 30. So we all know, though, that we're not where we were, 5 days ago, and even had another downturn, not near as bad as the one on Wednesday, but had a rough last 10 days or 14 days or so. So it's been rough for those that are not used to it. And again, there were a lot of new people in the crypto space. A lot of them weren't prepared for these massive downturns, and they sold, and it was unfortunate for them. Some of them may never come back into the space. I guess, the one thing to say about that, it just gives us more opportunity. I think Ethereum, yes, but maybe more so in some ways Bitcoin, as far as, being at an amazing discount. The thing that I think a lot of people miss on Bitcoin is they talk about how expensive it is, and it's too high now, but you can buy a portion of a Bitcoin just like you can buy a portion or a fraction of an Ethereum. One of the great things about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for that matter, but especially Bitcoin, at least with regards to how it may be used in the future, is it's highly divisible into, don't remember the exact number, but each of the units, whether it's 100,000, whatever it is, a Satoshi, right? So I actually on BlockFi, so I have a link to BlockFi. I actually have an account. I actually use it. Most of my links, it's something that I use or have an account on. So check out BlockFi. Go check. I've got 2 links on there. You can sign up for an account on BlockFi, and you can earn interest on your crypto. And I'll talk about that briefly here in a minute. But maybe even more exciting, but I think you have to have an account on there to do it. But nonetheless, use my link. I have it in the description. You can sign up to get on their waiting list, and we both move up if you use my link in the waiting list to get their credit card. I don't believe there's an annual fee, but you get 1.5% back on all that you spend, but you get that in Bitcoin. So 1.5% back in Bitcoin. So what I did on BlockFi, I put in $100. That's what I've done with a lot of these platforms that I'm trying to learn, and a lot of them have $100 kind of starting point, or where you start. So I put in $100 in USDT or whatever it was, and I thought, hey, I can earn 5 point whatever percent on Bitcoin, and there's no starting amount. I don't have to have X amount of Bitcoin. And so I converted my USDT, or it was actually Gemini's Gemini's stablecoin, dollar, based on it's basically pegged to the US dollar. I converted that to Bitcoin, and in a day, with Bitcoin recovering, my $100 turned into $109. So now I'm earning 5% interest on 109, and that is compounding. So you get paid every month, and then now your principal is a new amount, and you're earning that 5% on the new principal amount. So it's a pretty cool deal. Now, after 0.5 Bitcoin, the interest rate goes down. So that's where you might want to use if you're ever going to have more than 0.5 of Bitcoin. You might want to keep the 0.5 of Bitcoin on BlockFi and then get a Voyager account. And they don't have, at least right now, and I believe they are partnering with Celsius on this, but you can earn, again, I believe it's 5.25, something like that, percent of interest on your Bitcoin, and there's no tiered system. So you could have 100 Bitcoin on Voyager, earning 5.5% interest, and there's no lockup period, maturity date, or anything. In other words, it's still basically yours. You could withdraw it at any point in time, sell it, and you've got it. So, lost 18K, but I really. So you took a loss, CK, is that what you're saying? And then you bought Dogecoin, and then did it go up enough to return your 18K? But here's the one other thing about this. So there is one other reason. Again, depending on what's your personal situation is, there is something called tax loss harvesting, right? So depending on a number of things that I haven't fully figured out yet, timing and all of that, you might actually, it might actually make sense in some cases to sell at a small loss so that you are able to harvest a tax loss, buy back in. Now the clock kind of starts over, if you will, which may or may not be good. Anyway, it's a thing. I think it's just easier to hold, but that's just me. Everyone's situation different. And I had a situation where I did a similar situation, and I talked about this. I think maybe I've already talked about it, or maybe I didn't, but I actually, during this, I think I talked about it. I sold my Cardano. I did talk about this. I sold my Cardano. It was early in the stream here, but I sold my Cardano at a small loss and used that money to get into Ethereum. And I guarantee you, because Ethereum's gone up from where I bought it at already, recovered enough that I made a lot more money than I would have with the recovery that Cardano has made. I have every intention of getting back into Cardano, but just not right now. Hey Milto, thank you, my friend, and forgive me if this is not your first live stream that you've joined and I've forgotten I've taken a 7-day break. I'm back, but I hope you will subscribe if you haven't and turn on notifications, and would love to know a little bit more about you. What platform do you use? What's your favorite crypto? You guys let me know, those of you that are still on, what are like your top 3. You don't have to tell me any more than which, and it doesn't even I don't care what order, but I'd really be interested, and I'll start, or I'm gonna even give you 5, but I'm gonna say, and this is in no particular order, but things that I either want to have or do have. But Bitcoin, I do want to have. I already have a little. It's very, very little, but I do want to always have some Bitcoin in my portfolio. My goal is to at least own a whole Bitcoin, so I need to hurry, right, and get to that point, because I do believe it's going to 100,000 probably in this cycle, unless if we are still in a bull cycle, and I can't tell you whether we are or not for sure, but if we are still in the bull cycle, and if we're going to recover and go beyond that high that we've already seen, that all-time high, I believe we could go to 100,000. So Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin as far as percentages. It looks a lot better, obviously, when Bitcoin jumps by $10,000 and Ethereum, may jump by 500. But the reality is Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, and a lot of people believe that Ethereum will eventually flip Bitcoin market cap wise, not necessarily the price for the coin. That being said, there are a number of people that, again, very well read, very experienced people that believe that Ethereum is going to 100,000. We'll see, but I don't know if it will, but that would be amazing if it did. Be real amazing. But what do you guys think? Let me know. So what are your top? So I'll start. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, VeChain, Matic, Polygon. That's 4, I think. What else do I have? VeChain, Cardano, Ethereum, Matic, and Bitcoin. Okay, so that's 5. There are others that that I think are worthy of getting into. Again, we showed at the beginning of the stream, so if you're just joining, or if you joined kind of in the middle of the stream, you'll want to go back and look at this, or you can go to coinmarketcap.com. Many of the quote-unquote altcoins, some people don't like that phrase, to use altcoin. It's just a way of basically saying anything other than Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin gets that dubious distinction of being kind of the granddaddy of crypto, and so it kind of gets to be considered top dog, even if Ethereum flips it, and then anything else is called an altcoin. But anyway, all of these other altcoins, again, every single one of them, if I remember right, that's on Voyager, other than, well, no, all of them were up today. I'm actually going to go look at that real quick, and I will show you the different coins that are on Voyager. I should be able to do that. Let me try to find it here before I pull it up. Supported coins. Okay, here we go. All right, so you got Cardano, Algorand, Atom, Cosmos. This is another one that I think is good. Something that would be good to invest in. Avalanche. I've heard good things about it. Not so much. Don't know so much about BAT. Bitcoin, of course. Bitcoin Satoshi. Don't know so much about that. Bitcoin Cash. I'm not going to name all these. BitTorrent, Celo, CKB, Dash, DAI. That's kind of a Anyway, Compound, loan kind of situation. DGB. Don't know much about it. Dogecoin, of course. Polkadot. Yes. EOS, ENG, Elrond. I'm sorry, Elrond. Ethereum Classic, Ethereum, Filecoin, HBAR. I'm not going to say all of these, but Link, that's another good one as far as I'm concerned. Link, Chainlink. Man, I've heard some good things about Serum, Tron, True USD. I guess that's a stable coin that I don't know so much about. USDT, stable coin. USDC, stable coin. Uniswap, another good one. VeChain, another good one. I've talked about this previously in another episode, and maybe I'll put a link up. It'll be up here. VGX is Voyager's native token, and there is some pretty exciting things that they have set up with it where you can get basically like points. So think of an airline points or hotel points, but it's more like money. Stellar is another one that I think has some potential still in it. Monero also, Tezos also, Verge, I don't know much about, ZRX, ZEC, Yearn Finance. So I think every single one of these, literally, with maybe a few exceptions, were up today on the whole. So not bad. So we will continue again with our live streams over the next several days. I'm going to go live for a number of days in a row. Another resource that I think you should look into is Willy Woo. So the Cointelegraph, and then look Willy Woo up on Twitter and follow him. He's been in this game for a long time and had some really good analysis of what brought on this crash that we had, where he thinks we're headed. But it says here, popular Bitcoin analyst Willy Woo noted a few signs and symptoms indicating the BTC bull run still has some juice left. So again, as the title of this live stream, has the bull run ended for 2021? I'm going to say no. We'll see. This is not financial advice. This is financial opinion, investment opinion. So seek, professional help. No, get your research. Do your own research. Make sure that you've evaluated things. Make sure you understand the risk, the volatility, all those kinds of things before you get into crypto. So if you're new, please do all that. I've seen just crazy questions, in some of these forums that people are asking, and it's obvious that they jumped in to some things before they knew everything they needed to know. So for example, if you're brand new, you may hear, oh, you need a wallet. You need a cold wallet, one that, doesn't hook up to the internet, all those kind of things. And yes, you may, but if you use the right services initially, they will protect you until you know enough to make sure you don't lose money as you try to transfer it into a wallet or out of a wallet, and all those kinds of things. And not to scare you away, but there are some things you need to learn before you try those. So Robinhood doesn't have a way to basically do anything other than to sell at this point in time your cryptocurrency. If you want to buy something else that's not on their platform with the proceeds or with what you've got in your Robinhood portfolio, you would at this point in time have to sell it for dollars, basically, if you're in the US at least, and then transfer that out into your bank account potentially, and then from your banking account into another exchange, so forth and so on. So you can see how that could take some time. So keep that in mind. I think Robinhood, although it's going through some growing pains, obviously I still have some of my portfolio there. It's very possible that when they come out with a wallet type process that they may lose a lot of customers. I don't know, but here's the other thing that's kind of interesting. We'll see how it works out, and then I'm going to be off of Robinhood, but there is a link in the description if you want to check it out. You'll get some free stocks. I'll get some free stocks. Everyone wins. No extra cost to you. But they've introduced a thing where you can participate in IPOs on stock, right? Initial public offerings. So that may actually be a good thing. I'm not sure. But anyway, back to Willy Woo. So popular Bitcoin analyst Willy Woo noted a few signs. We've already read this that says the bull run may still have some juice in it. We know that the price fell significantly, waved hello, the 3,000 price waved hello to frantically falling assets. So during an interview, and I watched this interview, and it's a good one actually, so let me copy the link, and I'll put it in here in a minute in the chat. But on What Bitcoin Did YouTube channel, Woo talked about a number of points, including the recent network and price activity and its current state. Woo noted that many macro indicators point towards price positivity for Bitcoin. This is interesting, right? There's an immense amount of activity on the network between investors compared to the valuation. Woo said, referring to data from Bitcoin's NVT ratio, which shows blockchain network activity in relation to market cap. He's saying this is just a middle of the bull market derivatives unwind. So again, this is really talking about those that were leveraged, and they basically got wiped out they got liquidated. So we know it reached 65,000. Yes. Declined below 50, and it went actually down as low as it went below 30, just a little bit. He says, I think it will take a bit of time to recover just from the sheer amount of coins that were dumped out. He thinks ultimately, if you look at the network health, this is a good thing, he said, seemingly referring to the overall situation. So I think it's actually good. And he says this further, I believe, but I won't read through it all, that it's actually a good thing to get some of this leverage out. But as long as these platforms are going to offer 20x, 100x, there's going to be enough people with money to try it. And so that's always probably going to have some impact on the price action. Again, you're just going to have to be ready and at times to see some dips and hold. We also know that generally speaking, not always, but a dip in Bitcoin can have an impact on Ethereum and the other altcoins. So maybe depending on how much money you have on the side, how much you can deploy, you may not be able to buy quote unquote Bitcoin on the dip, at least hold Bitcoin, but you can, like right now, there are a lot of altcoins that are on sale. Buy the ones obviously where the fundamentals were good already. We already know none of the fundamentals changed, right? We had FUD, people reacted to that. We had these leveraged accounts that were liquidated, and we had a lot of whales, as we saw, buy a whole ton of Bitcoin that also helped the recovery. So think about this for a minute. And that's why these recoveries can be so quick. Not that we're back to the top again yet, but these whales can cause, and then these over leveraged people can cause basically this effect of lowering the price. Then the whales can now accumulate, and obviously as they're buying along the way that they're buying, it's raising the price up, and that's all good. That's good for us that are holding. So just hodl. That would be my opinion on what to do. That's what I'm doing. Just holding, making a few strategic changes here and there. Just kind of depends on what's going on. But I think that's where we're going to leave it tonight. I do want to say thank you for coming back after us being basically off for 7 days. So I've got a few references up here. If you'll come follow me on Facebook at Shane Trammel 1. So www.facebook.com/Shane Trammel 1. Like my page there. Come follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Shane Trammel. Also YouTube. Here, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you're on Facebook, please come on over to YouTube, because I'm not going to always go live with this topic on YouTube. A lot of my YouTube community is interested in some other things that I talk about and cover. So tonight is a unique opportunity for those that are on those channels, if you want to call it that way, to come on over here to YouTube if this interests you as well. So come on over to YouTube, strammel.info/YouTube. And if you only want to basically connect with me in two places, YouTube would be number one and Twitter would be number two. And also in closing this out, I will say come come on over also onto YouTube, and you can watch playlist. We've talked about a lot of things in 114 days now, 115 days. If you're just new to the crypto space, keep coming back. We are now at about 513 subscribers. My goal, my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers 4,000 watch hours. We're at about 1,800 or so watch hours. So you could do me a massive favor and, go watch the playlist 100 days, and that will help us out tremendously to get those watch hours. So there's the link, strammel.info/100 days. It actually has all 114 days that we went live. So what I was going to say is I'm going to wrap it up by bringing up Weeble Desktop, and you can kind of, let's see how Ethereum is doing. We'll just switch over here and see. So Ethereum, as you can see, is 2537 or so. It has been as high as 2619, so it's kind of down right now. If we look at the if we look at the 1 hour instead, you can kind of see that there was a point here. Well, let me just go to second screen here. Yeah, where actually this is turned over now, where it's talking about where it's set a new 24-hour period, but it went up as high as 27.54, and it's kind of going down right now. So anyway, that's the way it's going to work. That's the way it's going to be for a while. We're going to let you watch this on the 1 minute for a little while. Turn up the music. You can hang out if you want, and then we'll shut her down here in a minute.